Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. The homicide of Sunshine Stewart is extremely baffling. And it's one of those cases that is a real whodunit. And two of the things I thought of right away is this a stranger or is this someone that she knows? And right now, that is totally undetermined and baffling, I think, everyone. All of the details here are really pretty much baffling to everyone that has been following this case. On July 2nd, between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m., Sunshine Stewart goes out on a paddleboard on Crawford Pond, right? Pond, excuse me. A peaceful wooded expanse of water in Union near coastal Maine. When she didn't return home, hours later, someone reported her missing. You notice they're saying someone. They're not really telling you. Some reports said it was the owner of the camp that she's staying at. Someone said it was also an unnamed roommate. So there's obviously things that are being kept from us, I think purposefully. So she didn't return hours later, and she was reported missing. And authorities found her body near 100-acre island, a nature preserve in the middle of the pond. You notice they say near. They don't say on or where or in the water or on the land. So we're all left guessing. 10 days later, there have been no arrests. Is that something to get crazy about? No. In the world of homicide, 10 days is not an eternity. It takes a long time to investigate these things. Maine State Police are warning the community to stay vigilant, but have not divulged the cause of death or any details about the crime scene, leaving Stewart's family with questions and nearby residents with fears that a killer may be among them. This is according to CNN. I think it's just confusing because we don't know what happened. Like if this was an isolated incident or a personal thing like a grudge. Resident Gus Williams told CNN affiliate WMTW. Yes, it would make everyone feel better, I think, if they could say the perpetrator is, we have a person of interest. People love that term. We have a person of interest and we believe the person is known to the victim. I think that would make everyone feel a little calmer. However, the state police, the major case squad, is saying none of that. So people that live in the area are all left guessing and all afraid. Lock your doors. Look over your shoulder. Look at your neighbor suspiciously. So all of these things are part of this. So folks, we're going to take a little bit of a dive into this. See what her friends are saying. There's all we know about this woman, Sunshine Stewart, is she seems like a remarkable woman, just a free spirit, so talented in so many different things. She's a marine biologist. She's a lobster boat captain. She's a contractor. She's a former bartender. Just she has so many talents, and she seems to be loved by all. So folks, hold on to your hats. Hold on to your loved ones. Hold on to your theories. Hold on to whatever makes you who you are. And also, if you like this show, hit the subscribe, comment, like, and share our show. It really helps us. There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
And now a word from our sponsor. BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all your sports betting action. And with baseball in full swing and football season around the corner, BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting. From Major League Baseball, UFC to tennis and NFL futures, BetOnline remains your choice for sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Head to the website today and take advantage of the industry-leading VIP program with level-up bonuses and weekly cash boosts. Bet online. The game starts here. So yes, this is absolutely a case of who done it. And this is sort of for the true crime community. It's a little bit baffling because they're not, the state police, the Maine State Police, the major case squad, is not giving us a lot of information. All they're saying is that they recovered her body and there were indications in regards to where she was found and how her body was found that indicated this was not a natural death. This was not a drowning, that this was in fact what they were calling it, a homicide. Now, the definition of homicide is death caused by another. And not all homicides are criminal, but I would bet you this one is. So how does a homicide not be criminal? Someone could use some technique to try to save to save you, and in doing so, cause your death. For example, restraint asphyxia, something like that. You can cause someone's death, although it was unintentional, and it can be ruled a homicide. So there's other ways, but there's no doubt in my mind when they say this case is a homicide, they mean it's a murder. It's absolutely 100% a murder because she goes out there paddling on a paddleboard, 6 at night. She's a real athlete, you know. She's an adventurer. She's a naturist. She's all those things. She's the all-American woman, you know, and is described by her friends a free spirit. And there's nothing worse than being among nature and being in nature and being free and someone taking your life. Just absolutely unbelievable. Police said Sunshine Stewart, known as Sunny, left a campground on the north shore of the pond alone at 6 p.m. on July 2nd to go paddling. The 600-acre pond is surrounded by private property, is home to loons, smallmouth bass, and other aquatic life. Sheriff's deputies, firefighters, and other law enforcement officials found her body sometime after 1 a.m. on July 3rd. They alerted the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit because of the circumstances of the discovery, and the police just left it at that. There was no further details. The Maine State Police recognizes the fear and discomfort that this incident has brought to the town of Union and the Crawford Pond community. We understand the community's concern and ask their residents continue to remain vigilant, be aware of their surroundings, and report any suspicious activity to law enforcement. So you may ask, well, then where the hell did the investigators begin? And as I tell you guys all the time, where we begin is what we know is we know the identity of the victim, right? So we look into the victim's background, and we call that the victimology, the study of the victim. There was a report that she had a roommate in the camper that she was staying in. Unknown, this person has never been named. But if she did have a roommate, wouldn't the roommate perhaps know a lot about her life, her friends, potential relationships? And that is one of the places the state police would begin. The other thing is, even though this is a remote camping location, there's guaranteed has to be video cameras. I believe that Sunshine Stewart was caught on video leaving at 6 o'clock on July 2nd. So there's a start. She was seen on video paddling. Now, couldn't there possibly be a potential suspect also caught on video? Also, even though this is a remote area, couldn't there also be cell sites, right? Cell phones always come into play. How about the victim's social media, her cell phone, her text messages? All of those things, this is Homicide 101. And even though this is in a remote area, you don't throw away what you learned as a homicide investigator. And then we get to where the body was found and the condition the body was found in. What led them to believe at the scene that this was a homicide? That was sort of assumed before the autopsy was even conducted. The police said something about the manner and the place and how the body was found. Could there be signs on the body of blunt trauma, which led them to believe that's how she was killed? Blunt trauma, could there be a stab wound? There was no indication, apparently, because they're not telling us, of drowning, right? There was no indication of drowning. So apparently Sunshine Stewart stayed at this location every year. So it's not like someone that wanted to do her harm didn't know where she was going to be, didn't know that she was staying at this location. So all of those things are areas of investigation that the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit must look into. And I'll get into it a little bit later, but canvases. What are canvases? Canvases are going door to door, knocking on doors, talking to people, following up what the people who you've spoken to in this canvas tell you. A tips log, it sounds so elementary. You have a tips log and people call in with tips, and every single tip must be investigated and closed out. Yes, we investigated this tip. It was not fruitful for whatever reason. But as always, you cover the steps, you cover the procedures, you cover the methodology. And somewhere in that, and I hate to use this term because we used to hate it on the NYPD, somewhere in the investigative checklist, you might find the answer that leads you to the person or persons who did this. And you must follow every single one and check every single tip, because as I said, that could lead you to who murdered Sunshine Stewart.
Exclusive interview with a close friend of Sunshine Stewart, the woman whose body was discovered on Crawford Pond in Union over a week ago when she was reported missing after going paddleboarding. To this point, no arrests have been made in what officials are calling a homicide. Tonight, this friend saying she just wants justice for Sunny. Tonight, Bethany Parmley remembering her friend of 40 years.
You couldn't help but have a good time around her. She was just a light. She was a light.
The two met when Stewart moved to Maine from Massachusetts in third grade. And the rest, as they say, is history.
We formed a fast friendship, and we were really tight, really best friends for a lot of time in our early childhood and elementary school.
Even in their college years and later in life, when they'd seemed to drift apart, they always found their way back to each other.
Whenever we saw each other, it was just like we had never been apart.
Parmley was with Stewart just days before she died. Their friend group had gotten together for a barbecue at Micmac Campground, where Stewart was staying.
She was in a good mood, laughing and joking around with all of us and happy to have the gang together,
This past week has been a nightmare for Parmley. She lost one of her best friends, and she's reminded of it everywhere she goes.
Wherever you go, and just, the mood of the town and the community, it's shock, but also, just concern.
Parmley was interviewed by detectives about Stewart's death. No information has been released about what actually happened to her, other than it's a homicide investigation. While the lack of information has been frustrating, Parmley is hopeful her killer will be brought to justice.
If this is what they have to do so that they can find who did this, then I'm willing to be frustrated and to be worried if it means that the outcome is that we find who did this.
Tonight, a plea from Parmley to the community. If you know anything about what happened to her beloved friend, say something.
For the sake of Sunny's family and for the community, to contact the detectives, reach out on that line, and if you know something, please.
Well, we appreciate Bethany speaking with us during such a difficult time tonight. We'll continue to bring you updates as we learn more about Stewart and the investigation. You can find those first on WMTW.com or, of course, on our app.
this is such a remote area that people have to get to it by water, by boat, or by paddleboard. But there's over 100 like cabins in this vicinity. I would say that the Maine State Police have to canvass every single one of them and ask questions whether someone left abruptly on July 3rd. Was there someone who came here and just left abruptly? Was there someone acting suspiciously? We must also look at sex offender registry in that area, right? And I'm not saying that this is a sex offense. However, you have to eliminate that. You have to look at it. Parolees in that area, anyone suspicious that was in that area, someone new in that area. These are things that the state police must look at. And in those investigative steps, we used to say, to bear fruit, you have to turn over rocks. You have to lift up rocks and see what's underneath it. That was just an expression in the homicide world. So again, could this is on the screen, Sunshine Stewart. Could this be a stranger? Could this be a stranger who murdered her? Or is this someone who knows her? And that's, in my opinion, I believe that is more likely because she was known in this community for over 30 years. And she's extremely talented. She's a contractor. She's a microbiologist. She was a lobster boat captain, as you can see in these photos. And I would think that more likely the perpetrator is someone known to her than a stranger that just came into this area. And look, I could be wrong, but just remember this. All you folks that follow true crime, in the Idaho 4 case, it took 6 weeks to identify and arrest Brian Koberger. So keep the faith that the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit is working their tails off and will come up with the suspect and/or suspects that committed this murder. And that's something I think we can all count on in this case because they're going to be working on it. And as I said, I think it's more likely that this person or persons is known to the victim. This is Brian Enton from News Nation.
And Meredith Smith now, she's been friends with Sonny for more than 40 years. Thank you so much for being with us, Meredith. I'm so sorry about what happened to your friend. First of all, I mean, the pictures, she looks like such a lovely woman, enjoyed the outdoors, was on the paddleboard. Tell us a little bit about Sonny.
Sonny was a very vibrant person, outgoing, silly at times, strong-willed, independent, adventurous. She was just an overall great person.
Is there anyone that you know of that would have wanted to hurt her?
No, nobody wants to hurt Sonny. I mean, that's the scary part about it is because she had a lot of friends, like all over the world, really, because she was very worldly. And yeah, there's nobody that would want to hurt her. So that, like I said, is scary for everybody else around here because, you know, if that can happen to someone like her, then it can definitely happen to anybody.
You mentioned she had friends all over the world. What kind of work did she do?
She was a carpenter. She was a marine biologist. She did lobstering. So she was a jack of many trades, master of none for a woman.
What was she trusting? I'm just wondering if she met someone, if she was on the paddleboard. I mean, was she the type of person that would have followed someone and was just like had like a trusting spirit?
No, not with somebody that she didn't know. If somebody, like a stranger, had asked her for help or something, she would surely grab one of her friends and be like, come on, let's go help this person. She's very wise in her ways. So I just don't think
Did she know the area?
She knew the area, yes. We actually grew up here in Union and going to this lake frequently. And So she was very familiar with her surroundings.
Okay, so it was a place that she would paddleboard regularly.
Yes.
So what do you make of it, Meredith? I mean, it seems like such an awful mystery. I mean, there's not a lot of crime in this area. She sounds like a wonderful person. She didn't have any enemies. What do you think may have happened here?
I'm not sure. My strong gut feeling tells me, because Crawford Pond is really hard to get to unless you live in the area and know a way around it and frequent the campground. It's really hard to get there. So I feel like it's somebody that is local or some.
That's one of the reasons I feel that this person is known to her, because this is such a remote area. It was also known that she would go here every single year. So if someone was looking for her, had bad intentions toward her, he or she would know where to find her. So I'm not thinking that this is a stranger, but yet, as I say all the time, I've been wrong before. I've been wrong many times, but we take, in homicide investigation, we do what's called hypothesizing and theorizing. And my hypothesis is that the person that did this to her knows her, because this area is so remote and he or she had to know how to get here. And potentially, if they were looking for Sunshine Stewart, they knew where she would be staying.
Somebody that attends the campground quite frequently. And I don't think that it was a target on her. I think maybe it was just something random that happened to her, or maybe somebody was fixated on her. I have no idea. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
I guess that's the scary thing about it. If it was random and it could have been anyone, have police come and spoken to you at all?
No, they haven't spoken to me at all. I did get a tip today about some people that might be possibly involved that I did give to the police to look at. So I did speak to them about that. Nothing real big or anything. So just some people's names.
You don't have to give the names, obviously, but are you able to share a little bit more? I mean, is it people who were just in the area around the same time as Sunny, or what made you think it was a tip?
It was the night of at the campground, the incident when it happened, they were there. One of the people had already been interviewed, and another one, I believe, hadn't been interviewed. So I'm hoping they'll follow up a little bit more.
Is it a quiet campground? I mean, what is the sort of the vibe of the campground that's right there?
Oh, everybody there is, they pretty much know each other really well, and they get along for the most part. It's a lot of seasonal campsites, very friendly, very tight-knit group. I mean, there's a few others that come in, of course, from out of state or whatever. But yeah, it's a really great place, and everybody's like really relaxed and really kind, and you would never suspect anything going on down there like that.
Thank you. So, again, an interview with a friend, but everyone at this point, although I shouldn't say everyone because we don't know what the police in fact have, but everyone is baffled by this. This is, as I said at the onset of this show, this is a real whodunit. But let's get to the science of homicide investigation. Now, Sunshine Stewart's body was recovered, and they said near the island. They didn't say if it was recovered in the water. They didn't say where it was recovered. 100-acre island, it was recovered near there. So they're even hedging their bets with that. They're not telling us. Now, what was the condition of the body and the location it was found? What was around the body? Was the paddleboard near the body? Was she killed somewhere else and dragged there, transported there? Were there signs of blunt trauma? Were there defense wounds on her body? These are all things that tell the investigators a great deal. In any case like this, it's also part of the checklist during the autopsy. They will do a sexual assault kit on Sunshine Stewart. That is just the checklist thing, and they would be remiss. They would be remiss in their duties if they did not do that. So all of those things are the science of homicide investigation, which we don't know. We have no idea at this point what the condition of her body was. She wasn't, we don't know exactly what time she was killed. We just know she left at 6 p.m. and they said it was between 6 and 9. So sometime after 9, she must have been murdered. And then her body, I believe, was discovered at 12:30 a.m. on July 3rd. So that's not a long time for the body to have been, so there's no decomposition, right? And the folks that were searching for her immediately called the Maine State Police, the Major Case Squad, and got them to the scene. So that's part of, again, the science of this investigation. And we can only hope that if they don't have a lot of other evidence, that perhaps they get some DNA or a fingerprint or blood or some other piece of evidence that will scientifically link a perpetrator to this murder.
State police, the warden service, even the Union Fire Department are all down a private lane leading to the Micmac campground. We were told not to go down there because they were still investigating the homicide of 48-year-old Sunny Stewart of Tenants Harbor. Friends have launched a GoFundMe posting this photo of Sunny Stewart. The owner of the Micmac campground wouldn't confirm reports that Stewart was spending the summer here, but she did live in Tenants Harbor, a half-hour away. Police said Stewart went out on her paddleboard by herself on Wednesday, July 2nd, about 6 p.m. When she didn't return 6 hours later, someone called police to report her missing. The Knox County Sheriff's Office.
Do you see how they're very guarded, even that when she didn't return 6 hours later, they don't let you know who the caller was, who called the police to say that she never showed up home.
The Union Fire Department and game wardens all responding during the early morning hours of July 3rd and located Stewart's body. State police were called in. An autopsy confirming the manner of death, a homicide. Officials have not said how she was killed. The body was located near what is known as the 100-acre island, which sits in the middle of Crawford Pond. The only access is by boat. State police issuing this statement today. We understand the public's concern following the recent homicide in Union. We want to assure the public that this is a very active investigation. Detectives have been working nonstop since Sunshine Stewart was found deceased. As always, we urge residents to remain vigilant, be aware of their surroundings, and report any suspicious activity to law enforcement. Police are asking anyone who may have seen anything on Wednesday, July 2nd, between 6 and 9 p.m. to give them a call. Anything near the 100-acre island on Crawford Pond in Union. I'm Jim Keithley for Maine's Total Coverage.
So again, you could see the massive amount of work this is. And the biggest thing is the canvas and the re-canvassing and the checking up on things that you learned during the canvas, the re-interviewing of people, the re-interviewing of potential suspects. And everyone wants to know, well, why aren't they telling the community? Why aren't they telling the press? Why aren't they telling the broadcast media more information? Because a lot of times the police use the media to help them, to shake that tree, get the media out there to help us put out certain information so that we could find out what occurred here, and they're not doing that right now. Because I think they believe, which to me indicates that they may be close to a person of interest. Wade G from the chat, also that 100-acre island is so big that only 1/3 or 1/2 of the places on that lake will have had a line of sight to see her out there. TN Cat Lover 33. So would people on this friend group, I wonder if there were men in that group, I wonder if any of her female friends were separated and she had helped them leave their partner or something. TN Cat Lover, there's possibilities. You ask questions and they're good questions. But part of homicide investigation is narrowing down the potential motive, the why, and use all the investigative steps, use all the investigative resources to figure out the why. And right now, we don't know the why. We don't know. Well, we have very little. We know that this is a homicide. This is a murder. According to the local newscaster, they weren't saying that this was a murder, but yeah, homicide means death caused by another. And when they called this from the scene, to me, that was indicative of the fact that this was a murder. Her death wasn't just an accidental death caused by someone else. This is a murder. This is an interview with a local newscaster who's been covering this area for 30 or 40 years.
Stephen Betts, and I'm a reporter with the Midcoast Villager.
Okay. So you told me that, first of all, you became aware that something was happening in the middle of the night.
Middle of the night, I woke up and I have a police scanner at home. And so I heard the Union Fire Department sending out a boat with a crew trying to find a missing paddleboarder. And that's what alerted me, the first of it.
Did you stay up listening?
I did stay up for a few hours listening to it. And then Rockland Police came with their aerial drone. And then they called in the warden service. And once the warden service got there, I didn't hear much traffic for a while. So I went back to bed.
And then you eventually found out that they had found a body. And
I contacted the Maine Warden Service first and was told I needed to speak to the Maine State Police, which was the first clue. This is something different than a drowning incident.
And you haven't gotten a great deal from the state police since then, have you?
No, I've received what everyone else has received. There's been 2 news releases by the Maine State Police. First one saying, well, 3 actually. First one was the death was suspicious. And then they declared it a homicide. And then I think it was yesterday, they issued one, or yesterday or the day before, saying, we understand that there's fear out there and concern, but we're investigating, and they're doing everything they can.
So you're the local reporter here. You've been covering all this stuff around here for decades.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of information about what happened or what might have happened?
The only thing I know is that Sunshine Stewart had a camper. She was going to spend the summer at Micmac Campground and just enjoy the outdoors. She was a big outdoors person.
So again, this local news reporter who's been covering this area for 30 or 40 years, he basically has nothing. He doesn't have anything. He's got no information. So I just find that interesting that even the police are not releasing any information to a local news reporter. And that, to me, tells me that they may have their sights on someone. They may have what we commonly hear the media refer to as a person of interest. And in the victimology, the study of the victim, the background of Sunshine Stewart, they may have found out something that leads them to look at a certain person or persons, right? Some of you guys, have really good instincts. And I read someone was just saying, contrary Marge, I like this. Someone had to follow her doubt. This is random. Contrary Marge, I agree with you. I think that this is she knows the person that did this to her, right? And maybe she let them get a little closer to her than she would have allowed a stranger, And just the fact that where her body was found. Now, the other thing is, Simi Sharp from the chat. With a story like this, we get to see Sergeant Bill in action, taking the facts we're giving us well-informed speculation. I learn a lot about the investigative process every time. Sergeant Bill. Simi Sharp, thank you very much. I'm just thinking, if I was working a case like this, it's not an easy case. Very, very, very difficult. But you always, look, you only need one break. You only need one good piece of information that leads you to the perpetrator or perpetrators. And that's where great investigators come in. But you must cover all the checklist stuff, all the responding to the scene, right? And of course, one of the most important things is the process of the body, how the body is processed right at the scene, taking good photographs of the body. Where was it? And canvas right around the body. Is there a weapon around that body? Could the weapon be an oar, an oar that she was struck with? So all of those things, there must be a search in the vicinity of the body, because there's a good chance that Sunshine Stewart was not killed at the location she was found. She was killed at another location and dumped there. There will also be signs of that. So all of these questions I have right now can only be answered by the state police, the major crimes unit. And then the canvas and the tips that they're getting, the phone calls they get, so important. Let's hope they're getting some good tips, some good phone calls. But this woman, Sunshine Stewart, seems like an all-American person, just a wonderful human being, quite accomplished. Emily Parkinson, her friend said she didn't have any enemies, but she may have ticked off a competitor in the lobster or construction business she had. Emily, I think you're 100% right. And sometimes not all friends know all the intimate details of your life. If you did have a problem with someone, if you were, not everyone knows, Contrary Marge, rage, kill over kill type of injuries, defense wounds. Yes, contrary Marge, I think it's important to, of course, part of the autopsy were their defense wounds. That would show that she, tried to fight back, that she had a warning that this attack was about to occur. So all of these things, there's also, we get back to the science. We talk about the cell phones being used in the area. There's something called geofencing. And geofencing is a technology the FBI and some of the real technological local police departments can pull up every electronic device being used in a vicinity, in an area at a specific time. And that may come into play in a case like this because it's a small area and there could be a small amount of electronic devices. And then perhaps hone in on some of the devices, specifically cell phones, that were being used in or around the area. Potentially could name a person that was at or near that location. So, again, not knowing a lot of the answers, this is a fascinating case. And it's a case that is, unlike most homicides, it is a whodunit. Who did this to Sunshine Stewart?
In an area where a lot of the residents there will tell you they don't even lock their doors. And now that sense of security completely upended after the murder of Sunny Stewart. This morning, residents in rural Maine on edge as the search for the killer of Sunshine Sunny Stewart intensifies. Stewart went paddleboarding last week on Crawford Pond, but she never returned. Police ruling her death a homicide, a source telling ABC News they still have no suspects.
Nobody knows anything. Nobody has a clue. And everybody's saying, outside of our community and even the surrounding areas, they're all concerned too. They're scared.
State Representative Katrina Smith posting on Facebook, "Lock your doors, don't be alone in remote areas." Adding, "I am not here to cause alarm, but I certainly don't want to be the one who didn't say this is a serious concern." Authorities not publicly releasing details of how Stewart died, a source saying her body was found under unusual circumstances near what's called 100 Acre Island in the middle of Crawford Pond, accessible only by boat. And now those who knew and loved Stewart mourning the 48-year-old carpenter.
She was just a really honest, hardworking, beautiful inside and out, just a strong woman who brought joy wherever she went. She would have put up a hell of a fight if someone attacked. If she had a chance, she fought like the devil.
And investigators have been told that Stewart only stayed at a campground nearby the pond for just a couple days in the 2 months just before her death. Investigators clearly just trying to piece together what happened here. Such a difficult time for this.
So, again, we can conjecture, but we don't know all the intimate facts of her life. We don't know all of the answers to the questions that no doubt the Maine State Police Major Case Unit has been asking people. We don't know any of that. So all of these investigative checklists in homicide must be followed to the letter of the law. Remember I said also, how about her social media? Is she even on social media? What about her friends? In-depth canvas of her friends. And that, of course, is part of the victimology, the study of the victim, the background of the victim. She's a contractor, right? She builds houses. Was she working on anything in that area? Did she perhaps piss someone off? These are all questions that you must ask. And, it can get uncomfortable. How about known criminals in the area? Parolees, sex offender registry in that area. That's all published. That's all common knowledge. Unusual people. You have to do now an in-depth video canvas. All these campsites, most of them for insurance reasons, have video. Camps, besides interviewing the proprietors of these camps, you're going to have to look through all of the video, And again, I mentioned, did anyone leave abruptly on July 3rd? That was the day after Sunshine was reported missing, right? Sunshine Stewart. I mean, you don't get a name like Sunshine unless you're one hell of a person, right? So important. Cell tower pings in that area, and the times, right? The pings, calls, her cell phone. If she in fact had it on her, and even if she didn't, you want to look at her cell phone. But what if she did have it on her? That would also show a GPS roadmap, even though it was on water, where she was and where she went to, So all of these things, the Major Case Squad from the Maine State Police is checking all of these things. And so important is the tips. You remember from New York City after 9/11, it's practically a cliche. If you see something, say something, right? And that goes for Maine also. Maine people, Maine folks that live in that area, if you see something, say something. This is a horrible thing. This woman, I mean, when I hear about her and I look at her, I just think she was a real shining star in the human race, really just a great human being, and that someone chose to steal her life from her, to take her life from her, this shining star, this amazing person, and someone decided, and that's all you can say, someone decided to steal her life from her, to take her life from her. Just absolutely horrific. And that's, gotta poop. If she was in construction, it could get bad. Many good people, but also sketchy people too. Yeah, no doubt. Wade, how long does it take to get the geofence? That would be big. I'm not an expert in that. It takes however long it takes. They got to work with the AT&T, all the carriers, and then do that work. It's not an easy thing. Lizzie Hershberger, thanks for covering this case. Lizzie, thank you for coming by. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories. Again, if you like real crime, true crime from a police perspective, you're in the right place. And I just ask you that you hit the subscribe button, you comment, you like, and share. That helps the algorithm and helps our channel so much. MS, so many questions on this case. Cell phone, new friends, Apple Watch. Who was at the campsite with her? Any recent fights? MS, that's what homicide investigators do. You're 100% right. And folks, if you're not subscribed, again, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to contribute to us financially, we have a Patreon with 4 different levels, or we have a YouTube channel membership with 5 different levels, and you could become part of the Police Off the Cuff YouTube family. So, yeah, I mean, anyone in the chat, I do never, ever put down anyone's suggestions. If you have a good suggestion that you think the Maine State Police should cover, that they should do, please make a suggestion of it. I would never put anyone down, because sometimes not saying it and then you see someone else says the same thing that you were thinking of. It's so important to say. Heisenberg, a killer illegal, what does that mean? Maybe hired a killer illegal. I don't know. Contrary Marge, I'm not sure what you meant by that. A killer. If you could explain it, Marge, I'm not sure what you mean either. Look, I think that, when this case is solved, and I really believe it's going to get solved, I think we're going to find out that she perhaps knew the person that did this. And I'm hoping that it gets solved sooner than later, since the community is probably freaking out. The family of Sunshine Stewart is probably freaking out. Contrary Marge is saying that perhaps a worker killed her. I don't know if she, in fact, hires a lot of workers, since she does a lot of the work herself. I don't. She seems like just a total hands-on human being that does so many things by herself. She's so talented. I mean, I'm not really that good with a screwdriver and a hammer myself. That's why I'm always amazed at what people can do that are good with it, Terrifica, eucalyptus, doubtful. I think that's someone in a closer circle. Look, something, we all want to assume or make predictions, and everyone at this point, their prediction is just as good as the next person. This is Brian Enton again. I'm going to play a little bit more of this from News Nation.
This is an area where this stuff doesn't happen. The body of Sunshine Stewart was found July 3rd near 100 Acre Island. That's the name of the island on Crawford Pond in the town of Union, Maine. Stewart was 48 years old. She was a paddleboarder who went out on the water alone the evening before her body was discovered. And initially, because this is such a quiet area, people assumed that this was a boating accident. They didn't think murder or anything bad, until the state medical examiner ended up ruling it a homicide. Now, police have not revealed Stewart's cause of death, so we don't know the exact specifics, but we know homicide. But we don't know what makes them think that there is a killer on the loose. They're not giving very much information. Today, the ME's office told us, quote, we got a statement. It says, in Maine, autopsy reports are not available to third parties without next of kin permission. With the ongoing investigation into Miss Sunshine Stewart's death, no further information will be released. The owner of a local campground says investigators have been searching the area every single day since Stewart's body was discovered, and that they have been focusing on a dumpster. Apparently earlier this week, they started focusing on this dumpster in the campground area, which is right next to the waterway there. Investigators have asked anyone who may have seen Stewart paddle boarding last Wednesday between 6 and 9 p.m. to contact them immediately. So there's still a lot of questions with this one. I want to bring in someone who's been following this case very, very closely. Stephen Betts. He is a reporter for Maine's Mid-Coast Villager and has the scoop on the ground there. First of all, Stephen, thank you for joining us. Population of Union, Maine, just over 2,000 people, really a small community. I'm assuming a crime like this must be pretty rare there.
Oh, this is extremely rare. I've been covering the news in this area, the whole county, for 44 years. And not once have we had a homicide where it's not within a day or so clear on who did it. You have spousal deaths, child abuse, or drug deals gone bad. But this is the first case in where there seems to be no reason behind it. And of course, there's no suspect been named. So it's left people fearful.
Yeah, you can't blame them. Are you getting the sense, Stephen, based on the information that you have, that this may have just been random, that she went out paddleboarding and something, someone she doesn't know did something to her?
Well, this is the unsettling part, is you don't know. State police have been very tight-lipped about it, and probably for good reason, because they don't want to give away information only the killer would have. But yes, that obviously is one of the possibilities, is this was just a stranger, a random act. That the lake has a campground where you can have access to, but that's privately owned. And there was no public access points on the lake.
Someone just put this in the chat. Cinnamon Bear, isn't there a serial killer on the loose in that area? Cinnamon Bear, there is a unconfirmed across New England. I believe there is 11 or 12 bodies that at this point they can't say they're unrelated, and it's over a sort of like a 195 or a 200 mile area that these bodies have been found. I think 3 of these 11 or 12 bodies, I haven't been following. I did an early report on this, and I didn't see the connections that this was a serial killer. But because this is in the general area, you could consider this near New England, that people are saying that this could just be the New England serial killer, which no police agency has said there is a New England serial killer. So could it be? Something, I don't want to say it is, but anything is possible. I don't like to slam the door on anything when I fully and don't know. But some people, if you go on Facebook, some people have suggested that with this case. So I just a little credence to what you just said.
But there's probably 100 properties around Crawford Pond, and many of them have docks. So the person could have come from any of these places.
So is it an island, Stephen? Is that correct? Is it totally surrounded by water, the location where Sunshine's body was found? So someone had to take a boat to get there.
Well, they would have to take a boat to get to the island. Yes, 100 Acre Island is actually an island within Crawford Pond, though the police have not yet said that she was found on the island. They've asked for people who, if they saw anything around 100 Acre Island between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. on July 2nd. So it's been 9 days, and still no one knows exactly what happened. So we don't know if she died on the island or on the shore or on the water near the island.
Sometimes I've found, Stephen, that police will be quiet initially because they have information that they're trying to follow up on, and they don't really need the media's help at that point. Are you getting that sense? I mean, do you think there's a very active investigation behind the scenes, or are you getting the sense that they have no idea who did this?
I really don't know that, but it's definitely an active investigation. They have been down there every day since July 3rd is when her body was found, and they've been down there. They've searched the island. The island is owned by the Georgia River Land Trust, and they got permission to search the entire island. They've been going along the shoreline. So, that's what you do in a thorough investigation, and they've done that. Maine State Police have a very good track record of solving homicides in this state. So you hope with time, and maybe with forensic evidence, they'll be able to find out who this is.
We've reported there's been roughly 13 other deaths in New England. There's been some suspicion that could there be a serial killer out there because they've been finding remains and bodies over the last several months. Do you think that this could all be connected?
Well, frankly, I never heard about that New England serial killer theory until about a day or two ago. And I've looked online about the people who believe that. But there's no evidence. I mean, there really isn't. The police haven't certainly said that. And
I just think it's so premature to mention those other bodies across New England and to try to connect this to that. I think this case here is a one-off, and I gave you my feelings that I believe that this case is someone she knows. I really feel that way. And I could be wrong. Again, I've been wrong before. I've been wrong many times. But I think that it's going to wind up being someone she knows, someone from the area, someone that knows. Can you imagine a random person going into this area? I mean, it's possible, but has no idea how to get in or out and commits a horrific crime like murder? Could happen, but I don't see it. I'm not seeing it in this case. Anyway, folks, we're going to stay with this case as we get new information. We all say a prayer that the Maine State Police, the major case unit there, solves this case and has someone in custody very quickly. Until that point, I just want you guys to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment about this case, and share us with your friends and family. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. Thank you so much for tuning in, and God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.